There's been a discussion for a few years now that Deep Space Nine copied Babylon 5.
But the most damning thing of all, I think I can live with it.
But actually, I think another show might have been heavily inspired by it as well. Welcome to Sci Trek, your sci-fi TV and movie channel. The creator of Babylon 5, J. Michael Straczynski, or JMS because it's easier to say, has actually had to comment on this a few times because lots of fans have talked about how they think Star Trek Deep Space Nine copied Babylon 5. Now, if we ignore the fact that actually Deep Space Nine started before Babylon 5, because Deep Space Nine started in 1993 and Babylon 5 started in 1994.
Prepare to engage the enemy.
So that sort of throws a spanner in the works of that argument immediately. But actually, a lot of the argument is that it was the Dominion War that started really in season 3 or 4, or really got into the swing of things in season 3 and 4, that was actually what they copied. And that would have been a year after the 3rd season of Babylon 5, where they had the big shadow conflict. And the way Deep Space Nine ended, with all the fire gods and all that stuff, that did feel a bit Babylon 5-ian, which isn't a word, but we'll go with it. Now, I'm not saying that Deep Space Nine copied Babylon 5. I'm not saying that SGU then copied Battlestar Galactica. But a lot of these shows are inspired by each other. A creator will see a new way of doing things, a new style of show, and they will, be inspired by it. More importantly, though, executives at studios will see a show being popular, and they will put pressure on creators to do something similar. I think that happens quite a lot. So what is the show, though, I'm talking about that I think was heavily inspired by Babylon 5 that I've never heard anybody talk about before? And it is Battlestar Galactica, that I think then inspired Stargate Universe. Why do I say that? It's not really the storyline, obviously, because the storyline was replicating the original series. It's the style of the show that I think Ronald D. Moore was very heavily inspired by Babylon 5.
Let them take the first shot.
All players, Galactica. Threat BR350, Karam 211.
Raptors, lean back to missile pickets. Weapons free.
Don't lose me this time, Apollo.
Oh, not a chance.
Now, obviously, before Battlestar Galactica, Ronald D. Moore did Star Trek. He did 5 years on Deep Space Nine. He worked on Voyager as well, and he did a couple of years on Star Trek The Next Generation. Don't forget that if you're enjoying the video and you want to help support the channel, we need your thumbs up on the video, and we need you to throw a comment on. It really helps with those tricky little YouTube algorithms. He then went alone and actually showrun Battlestar Galactica.
All right. All forces, engage any hostile target. Fire at will. I repeat, fire at will.
Take that, you fracking toaster.
Admiral, it's a silent trick.
To an awful lot of critical acclaim and popularity. It is still considered one of the best sci-fi shows of the last couple of decades and really stands out for its individual style, its realistic space battles, the way the series was shot, some very unusual camera angles, etc., etc. But If you actually look at a lot of the space battles of Babylon 5 and then put them alongside the space battles of Battlestar Galactica, they are very similar. If you think about it, Babylon 5 again had very realistic space battles. They did the same thing as Battlestar Galactica, where they didn't use a lot of sound during battles. I think JMS realized that space is a cold and silent place, and he used silence very effectively. If you look at a lot of the designs in Babylon 5, particularly, say, the early Earth Force, the rotating sections so they can create artificial gravity, because they hadn't actually developed that technology like, say, the Minbari. But also, look at the fighter design of the Star Fury. It's very realistic. It really is something that you could see that would be very effective as a fighter. Battlestar Galactica had a very similar idea. It had designs and technology aboard it that was very realistic. Now, obviously, it was copying the original series, so it couldn't do anything particularly original there. But still, the technology was grounded, just like it was in Babylon 5. So for me, no. Deep Space Nine, it could have been inspired by Babylon 5, because at the end of the day, Babylon 5 really does stand out, particularly back in the day as, okay, a show that didn't have a great deal of money spent on it, but that every dollar that was spent was on the screen. It was one of the first sci-fi shows to use almost purely CGI, etc. Something that Deep Space Nine didn't do in the first couple of seasons. It really was out there pushing the boundaries. So, of course, it's going to inspire other creators. But I think Ronald D. Moore was very heavily inspired by Babylon 5, and he took that into Battlestar Galactica. Now, I don't know if he was conscious of that or subconscious, but really, when we look at a lot of the visuals side by side, I can 100% see, even though the special effects in Battlestar Galactica were obviously more advanced, more expensive, and a little bit more refined, but I think the comparison is there for all to see. So yeah, maybe Deep Space Nine was inspired by Babylon 5, but Battlestar Galactica definitely was. And it's not a bad thing. But guys, what do you think? Again, to the comments. Was Babylon 5 really so far ahead of its time? It inspired TV shows for decades following it. I mean, we talk about Battlestar Galactica being a genre-defining series, but really, should we be giving that mantle to Babylon 5? Get into the comments and tell me what you think. If you are new to the channel, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. It really helps us out and you'll never miss any of our new videos. Also, you can go to patreon.com/SciTrek, where most of our new videos premiere and you get to see them without the adverts for a small contribution each month that supports the channel, but you get a free gift after 3 months. Also go to scitrek.co.uk, which is our dedicated website where we do articles based on a lot of our stories, and we try to add a little bit more detail for you to digest. Go check it out. As always, please stay safe, and I'll see you next time.